Life Trading Pre-Market Day Trading Show. All right, good morning, Greg. Good morning, Tony, Tana, Jennifer. Good morning. Hope you all had an amazing Wednesday. So here we are, Thursday. It's actually option expiration Thursday. You don't get to say that too much. I think there's 5 Fridays in April. Yeah, and then you got Good Friday tomorrow, so the market's closed. You have option expiration today. That should be fun. I think I've taken care of most of mine. I have a couple that are going to expire worthless, but I've rolled most of my options and or closed them out, or they're for different expiration dates. I already took care of that yesterday. The big news this morning, Elon with the potential takeover letter to Twitter. I think he even tweeted it. Let me go double check here. So let's go, Elon. Yeah, I made an offer. So you go over here, and here's his filing. And where is that letter? This one. He's straight up like, what is this? I don't know, 5, 6 sentences. 420 per share. I don't know. I think that was kind of for the memes. And he says, Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. I mean, what a boss move. The guy just straight up all by himself. Doesn't need anyone else. Just on his own. Now, I think Twitter is such a poorly run company that they should accept it for their shareholders, but they're probably not going to. I don't think they will. And then he'll probably end up selling his shares, and then it'll just go lower. And then people will probably sue Twitter and be like, oh, you guys did the wrong thing for shareholders. You should have accepted the offer because, from the bottom, I mean, this is all Elon thing up tremendously. So we'll see what happens. I don't think personally they're going to accept it, but you never know. I also think that's probably why Tesla is trading down, because the market's realizing it's a pretty big chunk of change, even for Elon. Yes, he can finance some of it, but he's probably going to have to sell some shares. Now, I do also think that it's kind of interesting that the last time Tesla was up in here, this is where Elon was selling. And now that we're back up there, all of a sudden there could be another reason for him to sell some more shares. I don't know. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory. But I think it's probably better for Tesla if there's not that selling pressure on the stock. So, I don't know. We will see what happens. As far as overall market, I mean, SPY's pretty flat. Yesterday was a good day, but just look outside of the intraday, and it's like, well, for the SPY, it was an inside day. I mean, we're still hanging out in here. I think this is a decision area. I think it's, do we go higher than here, or do we go lower than here? And a lot of this stuff is just kind of indecision, choppiness. I don't know which direction we're going to go from here, but I think we're at an interesting level. We'll see if this neckline of this double bottom holds. I mean, if we are going to bounce here, this is probably where it's going to be. If I look at the Qs, draw a fib on that bounce, it's right at the 618. Same thing with the QQQ though. We actually have an inside day yesterday because the day prior was so large. So I don't know. And then we got a big retest gap, big retest gap. You know, we would expect some type of retest at some point. And then a sideways move, and then we either roll down or then we bounce and go a little higher. So I wouldn't look at yesterday and be like, oh my gosh, we're in the clear. We'll see what happens. Someone's asking for TSM. I don't really day trade this one, Joe. We're not the primary market for TSM, so I feel like it never really like has the best follow through, and sometimes the volume isn't all that great, especially as you get to a little bit later in the day. You get lots of gaps on the 1 minute and stuff. So I personally just haven't had a lot of success day trading this one. But right now, I mean, it looks like it broke below this channel, retested it, failed. I mean, maybe we'll trade back up into here, and then we'll either come down, bounce, and go back in, or we'll bounce, hit it, and then roll back down from the bottom. I can look at futures. Yeah, we can go ES1 bang. There we go. Again, very similar. Yesterday was pretty much an inside day. This is the 50 EMA, the E-minis hits. We're rolling down off of all of them. Here's NQ. So same type of thing. Like we're at this area that if we do bounce here, I mean, it makes sense that we retested this level. Actually, if you go to ES, I do like that we held 4,400. That's a big round number. We went below it a little tiny bit, but the very next day we recovered it. So yeah, that looks okay. But if we take it out, you know, today or tomorrow, who knows? Not tomorrow, Monday. 3-day weekend, I think that there's going to be some people not wanting. We're such a headline-driven market. Like, what type of headlines are going to come over the weekend? So, if we do see some things that are rallying, I don't know. I feel like there might be some selling pressure out there. And yeah, then again, you got option expiration stuff as well. Here's the weeklies on the SPY and the Qs. Either way, I think it's going to be a little choppy. Earnings season kind of kicked off. Let's see. Earnings Whisper's been giving me some problems here. So I haven't looked at these yet, actually. JP Morgan yesterday had an interesting report. They started adding back to loan loss reserves. I didn't look at Goldman and Wells Fargo just yet. Wells Fargo gapping down. I'm guessing that they are adding to loan loss reserves as well. Let's see. I don't see a headline on it, so I'd probably have to look into their actual earnings. Yeah, banks can manipulate their EPS like really, really easily by adding and removing money from loan loss reserves. Morgan Stanley representing Elon and Goldman representing Twitter. So either way, investment bankers are going to get a piece of that deal a little bit. DA. I'm not sure what that one is. Citigroup is probably down. Citi's like a terrible bank. This thing never recovered from the financial crisis, really. And yeah. Not one I would be real interested in. Citigroup. Yeah, imagine if we go look at European banks, Donna. Look at Deutsche. Look at this one. Oh yeah, they're doing phenomenal. Barclays. This one also never recovered. Yeah. So I mean, at least in the US, we had most of them recovered that like took over some of the other ones, but the European banks, trash. DAL, good gap on the airlines yesterday. It actually did have follow through, and it bounced off of the 200 from the bottom, so it could have a little bit of follow through. It is into a little bit of resistance here. They extended the mask mandate for a couple more weeks on planes, and it's absolutely ridiculous. LUV was a huge move yesterday right here. We got all these hammers and everything. I don't know why I didn't trade that. I guess just the gap looked like it was into some chop with this lower wick, etc. Yeah, there could be a little bit of a follow through there. GLD, yeah, gold looks good. I mean, I looked at it on this gap over here. It was, when were we talking last time? Here or here? One of those. There was good day trades on both of them. I traded it yesterday for a small win. Yeah, it looks like there's a nice little pennant breaking out, probably a little retest, and gold most likely going to go higher. LLOY. Did this one recover? Nope. Yeah. They I mean, I'm not saying they're insolvent or anything. They never really recovered from the GFC, global financial crisis. They got down to 44 cents a share. Isn't that what a pence is? Oh, this right here is. Oh, ugh. Yeah. Ouch. That's not great. Yeah, that's not real good. Here are some of the chip makers. So Nvidia, small bounce yesterday, as well as AMD. AMD did hit the weekly 100, so that's kind of neat. AMD has not hit the weekly 100 since 2018. So we'll see what happens on AM Dizzle. XOP. What is this one? This is the Sector Spider Oil and Gas Explorer. A strong bull trend. Continues to ride the moving averages. Yeah, I mean, looks dip buyable. It's in a bull trend. It is in a bull trend. Tony, I bought 10 shares of AMD. I do have some outstanding put sales actually. This is the only one that I had like listed in the chat, but I also have a 90. Same type of thing for April April week 5. I also have that one. But I got some put sales around here, so I only bought like 10 shares. Yeah, I mean, if I had pyramided in, if we take this level out, I would buy a protective put. If I was already in, like, since I'm in a relatively smaller position, I do have some put sales out here, so that would be a couple hundred shares. But yeah, like a lot of these energy stocks, I mean, like XLE, I mean, I don't know why everyone's like, oh, double top. It didn't look like a double top to me. I mean, it looks like we're consolidating to move higher. We're into some resistance over here, but I don't know. It looks like we're holding up pretty good. Looks like a little flag pattern. I think XLE is probably going to break out and continue. Contrary to the CPI report, when they say like, oh, you don't need energy and food, I think people need energy and food. The prices are going to go up and people are going to pay it because you don't have a choice. So, yeah. Some of the healthcare stocks have started to pull back a little bit. Like they were getting pretty crazy there. UNH did bounce off the 10. But again, I would watch all these. Regeneron too for potential bounces. I mean, like look at Eli Lilly, Bristol Myers. I wouldn't be buying like long term up here, but on some pullbacks for some momentum style trading. I mean, these are all in great trends. So use stops, etc. But I mean, it's better than probably buying. I don't know, like PayPal. Like this is in a solid downtrend. This is one that's more like accumulate long term, like buy 2 shares a week or something if you believe in it. They lost their CFO though to Wally World, so that's usually not. The CFO is a pretty important position. So when companies start losing CFOs, it's usually a bad sign. That's just been my experience. CFOs, chief revenue officers, and then certain CEOs. Some of the CEOs don't really matter as much. Which I did listen to a little bit of Andy Jazzy's interview today on CNBC's because it was like his first big one, and he actually did pretty well. Again, Amazon yesterday, bullish engulfing candle of the last 2 days. They got a little 3-day megaphone pattern going on. They're raising their prices to sellers, 5% fuel surcharge. They're now, I think they said they're now up to $18 minimum wage. So when wages go up and prices go up, and then they just keep following, that is what is considered a price wage spiral, which is what I think we're in right now in many areas of the economy. So I think the Fed's going to need to pump the brakes. Hopefully they got anti-lock brakes, but I don't really believe they're going to engineer a soft landing. This is a pyramid that I drew for somebody else, but Google, coming into some support here. They were mostly, yeah, but I think it's probably because it's first one. He did deflect a couple of questions, pretty well. Justin, I look at it like a little bit. I always look at these interviews from a little bit of a different scenario because when I worked at the bank, I went through like media training, and so I always like to see like, okay, what are the techniques that they get taught, and like how well do they use them around deflecting questions, not answering the questions, droning on until the reporter has to, move to the next question. So I always look at like, okay, how well do they use those skills? Because it's kind of funny to watch. You can tell ones that are like pretty practiced and other ones that are not very good. Let's go look at some other gaps. Baba, ugh. Another gap down on Baba, huh? Not a great gap on Baba. Charlie Munger unloaded 50% of his Alibaba that he aped into somewhere over here. But hey, at least he's taking his L and moving on. So yeah, not a great gap on Baba. JD.com. Baidu. I thought the Chinese EVs were doing a little better. Where's that one? Is it this one? It's doing a little bit better. But I don't own any of these, and I don't want to own any of them. I don't want to own anything that supports the Communist Party. Micron at a interesting level. I think could come a little bit lower. Disney's looking a little rough. Flow. I'm out of flow now. I know Jeremy bumped his target a little bit higher. The Mondelez is kind of hanging out. Shopify looks weak. SPGI, nice little retest. Gold looks pretty good. Charge point coming into some support. FXI, I mean, this thing is just dead money, man. Whenever I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a dude on the internet, so take this with a grain of salt. When your financial advisor tells you, oh, you should put some money in an emerging markets fund, like you just look at a chart and go, oh, hey, look, this is dead money for the last like 17 years. Or EEM. Again, dead money. I mean, I heard it too at the beginning of this year, like, oh yeah, we should invest outside of the U.S., emerging markets. They look at the SPY over that time, and then you go look at like the EEM or the FXI. It's dead money. Unless you're going to pick an individual country and it happens to do well, or an individual like company, these emerging market funds, they're just dead money. That's what history has proven. For every country that does well, another one sucks wind. So I'd stay away. MOS, I totally missed this one. I know some of you got in this. It dipped in like 15 minutes, and I think I was on the mic or something. I wasn't able to get in that. CF looks pretty decent too. Tractor Supply Co. at an interesting level. John Deere. Does anyone? I don't think there's anyone that really has earnings tonight. There shouldn't be. Is there people? No, not tomorrow. Okay, Monday, Bank of America, Schwab. This one will be interesting just to see how their acquisition of TD Ameritrade's going. Like, when are they planning to start operating as one broker dealer instead of two? Synchrony Financial. This might be interesting because PayPal, I think, is one of their largest customers, if I'm not mistaken. Travel stocks. Cruise lines had a nice little bounce yesterday. Food stocks. Oh, look at CAG. This thing's just gone straight up. Lamb Weston. It's a popular one here in Idaho. Potatoes. Bounced nicely. Rising. Tyson Foods as well. I mean, look at this hammer right here. Got a consolidation. Bounce. Looks like it might break out again. So, real meat. Fake meat just isn't cutting the mustard, apparently. What about some of these other food companies? General Mills just crushing it. Campbell Soup. What about that one? Not looking super great. What about some of these defense names? Lockheed Martin looks good. So you had like the initial, parabolic move. We retested, we consolidated right in here. Look at this 10 EMA trigger right there. Enter there, stop. I mean, you could have done there. I probably would have done like down here somewhere. And that would be hitting a target. Yeah, Kroger had a nice little pop. I got out over here. I wish I would have got out here or even here, but I just needed to hold like 1 or 2 more days. That made a nice run into that high, pulling back a little bit. Walmart, nice bounce. target. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like there's a long-term moving average there with those upper wicks. Some of the coin looks terrible. One of the worst IPOs of 2021. Um, Other than this pump, like pretty much nonstop going down. DraftKings, probably one of the other like, horrible SPACs. Where it stops, nobody knows. There's some that, I mean, you might even be able to try Fastly again. I know it's one of Justin Maxwell's favorites. It almost stopped me out by a penny and then bounced. I sold it. Might try to play it one more time. Isle of Tears also almost got stopped out. I'm still barely in that little swing. So there's some of these you can try off the bottom, but they're not great. Let's go look at our ones we're watching. Day trade. So Tesla, we're not going to trade that. It's right in the middle. Nvidia looks like it is going to gap outside of the range. Same with AMD. Apple, maybe. Roblox, no. Delta will qualify as well. Yes, Kim, Google is, they'll both be splitting, Google and Google. So this is just the C shares. So they are without voting rights. And then Google L has the voting shares. I personally use the Google L with the voting shares. Not that my vote counts with 20 shares or whatever. But I just feel better knowing I have the Class A shares, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, they'll both be splitting, I think, in July. Yeah, of course. Yeah, what's one of the other? Oh, Shopify is the split that I think is kind of janky. So the Shopify split, the way they're splitting the shares, they're going to create a separate class of shares so that I think it's the CEO, still maintains control of the company. I think that's kind of janky. I don't think that's like a very good way to do it. But I don't know. We shall see how the market takes it. Yeah, any last requests what you want to look at before the market opens? Justin says it seems like that one time Fastly actually slowed down every one of their customers for a couple days. That was the end of Fastly. Yeah, I think they lost TikTok or something, right? If you already own Shop, I don't know exactly how the split's going to work, Azam, but or is that T? No, you have T, Azam. Yeah, I think this thing is going lower. It still has like 120 forward price of sales. Forward bounced okay. I really like to see it get it back above the moving averages. We'll see what happens. I think they need to get the 50s on the road, and then some excitement will pour back in. All right. Well, market's open, so I will bid adieu. Oh, yeah, it is T. Awesome. Cool. Nice to see you. We'll see you next week on YouTube, and enjoy your Easter weekend out there.